Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Sage Business Cloud Accounting or Sage Accounting webinar. My name is Joanne Barnard. I will be your host and panelist for the session. So guys, today what we're going to be discussing is banking, but specifically with the banking. We're going to be talking about the bank reconciliation. So basically, this is where you reconcile your banks and credit cards. So this is a really important thing that should be done at the very least once a month. And the main reason for this is to ensure that your bank statement balance and the balance that Pastel says you have are the same. So for example, if I actually had to enter this, essentially, this is what we would hope to see. We would hope to enter our statement balance and then actually have it say 0 here, so that we see there's no difference. Then you go through, and what you're doing is we're trying to make sure that those values are correct. Now, if we had to see 0 without ticking anything, this means that we have a problem. So suddenly, if we tick that, we see that, hang on, there is a 12,144 Rand difference. So we would need to go and check that. Where does this customer receipt come from? Why is that customer receipt not reconciling properly? When exactly was this posted? Is it a problem with the date? Is it a problem with the total? Is it a receipt? Is it a payment? That type of thing. So in this instance, this is actually a customer receipt. It tells you that. So this is money into your bank. So we need to understand why that is happening, and then we need to obviously check it for the dates. Now you can display your reconciled transactions, which would be something that we would advise that you do during this period in case you have transactions that are not reconciled. Now in this manner, what I'm doing is I'm going back to 2021 and I'm having a look, because you also need to figure out, where is my issue coming from? Where is the problem when I'm looking at this actually going to come from, so that I can actually state, okay, this is the period that I was in. So my advice would be, go to the last period that balanced. So for instance, if the last period that balanced was actually September 23, we would then select, sorry guys, September 23, okay, and we can then select the 1st of September to the end. Now this is still going till the 30th of November. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to go back and we want to check that each period is in balance. So here we would select that specific month and have a look. And if we enter our values, what we would hope to see is the 0 balance. Now ignore the balance as it's showing here, because this balance is your balance including all transactions that you've ever processed. Whereas your statement balance is what is the statement balance as at the 30th of September 2023. As long as that is in balance, then we can slowly move forward and go, okay, actually now what I want to do is I want to do my October. Then again, yes. And we can go through and have a look and go, okay, where is my balance coming in? Okay. I must say, in this regard, I actually prefer the Bank Recon on Pastel, but I think that's just because I'm so used to Pastel. So please do not take offense. I'm just like, that was irritating me. My dates were not changing the way that I wanted them to. But again, you're then going to enter your statement balance as at the end of October. If we select our balance, here we can see now there's a 5,700 difference. Where's that coming in? So we need to check, and you're going to keep entering your statement balance. Now, of course, guys, you can do this weekly. It can make that a little bit easier. And we basically need to find out where that balance is coming from. Did we future process? Because those two are exactly the same, but the moment I took that 12,000, suddenly it's giving me a 5,700 Rand difference. Why is it giving me that difference? Where's that difference coming in? Technically, it should be zero because this is my statement balance. This is my actual balance. So that's where you would need that statement. Now, I randomly process in this company. I don't have a statement, but this is where you're going to pull up your statements. You're going to come through. You're going to check it. If need be, you're going to need to go to your transactions or to your reports, and you're going to check your sales and your purchases. You're going to need to see, okay, what came in, what came out. Are my sales and my purchases, is what I did there also reflecting in my bank and credit card? Is there maybe a transaction that I processed that was wrong? Is there something that I've processed twice? So I did my customer receipt via my transactions and I processed that receipt, but when I was doing my banking and I was capturing my bank statements, I actually also captured that transaction. So there's two transactions. That's where you're going to need to actually come in and check those reports. So you're going to need to go through your sales and purchases and your banks and credit cards to actually see what's happening. What am I seeing? Or go through your customer and your supplier detailed ledger. So it's dependent what you're looking for here. Was that payment made? Yes, no. Can you find them? Are they linked? This is where you can also come in just to your reports and we can see unallocated receipts. Do we see the receipts? Are those receipts linked to my invoices? And this is how everything starts fitting together, which is why I tend to go through what is the lifespan. So we need to look at our various reports. You need to see what reports are you looking for, what reports are going to make sense. And if we're just doing the receipt side, then obviously just looking at our customers and what receipts came through on our bank statement. So the in column is what we're going to look at. Do we see everything? Is that what we are seeing in our reconciliation? Is there a transaction here that maybe shouldn't be here? Is it showing twice? That type of thing. Same thing with your suppliers. So I generally split it. If I do that, I won't generally go line for line unless I've got a ruler. So what I'll normally do is I will take my bank statements, I will take my, my payments or my batch payments. I'll come through, I'll look at those payments. Remember, when we are looking at our banking though, it's not just supplier payments or customer receipts that we're getting. We are also paying expenses. We might be receiving interest on our investments. Maybe we loaned an employee money and they are paying that loan back. So that is also important when you're looking at the ins on that bank statement, that it's not just, oh, I don't see this customer receipt. We need to understand, was that a receipt? Was it a payment? So was it a customer receipt? Was it a supplier payment? Or was this interest received? Was this bank charges? Was this rent that's due? Was this my payroll run? Because those aren't going to show in our customer or our supplier area. That's where what we might have to do then is we might need to go into our reports and we might need to drill down onto our financial statements. We might need to go and drill down into our various different places to have a look and see what's happening. Banks and credit cards, great report to drill down onto. This is where we can see our actual transactions. You can view those transactions against your recon. They should in fact match up. But what if there's something in your recon that's not in your bank statement? That is then something that you need to raise with us. Guys, I'm seeing this, I definitely processed this, but it's not showing on my Bank Recon. Why is it not showing on my Bank Recon? We can go have a look. That's normally what we would need to log with our dev team, and they would need to go have a look at that and see why is that showing like that. Much like when your trial balance suddenly isn't balancing, it's not because you haven't selected a financial category. It's because there's actually a problem with maybe a transaction where it lost a cent or something, and we need our dev team to do what we refer to as a data fix. It's specifically on your instance of Sage accounting, and it's specific on your data, and we need to go into the back end to fix that. So that's also something good to pull. So you would probably pull your customers, pull your suppliers, pull your bank and credit card transactions, and you would start ticking them off. Make sure that you didn't accidentally process a customer receipt and you didn't put it through the bank, or you did it twice. Same with your suppliers, and then double checking, especially if you are also using the bank feeds. Make sure that you didn't manually capture things and also pull through your bank feeds and it didn't duplicate. Guys, does that make sense? Where the recon comes in, the reports that you need to pull to actually check those against each other, why you need to check those against each other. Are you with me so far? So we at basically reconciling, but we're not doing the normal tick, tick, tick in the bank recon. What we're actually doing is we're now doing a manual recon. So we've looked at reconcile bank and credit cards. We have a 5,700 difference. We need to figure out where that difference is coming in. We've checked that it's not on my bank statement, the closing balance. So now we're checking our various reports. So now we're checking our bank and credit cards. We're checking our suppliers and our customers. Okay, so I've got yeses, so I'm assuming that you're with me. Once we've checked that, okay, I see a question, can you not phone in and we check that? Guys, we're here to help you with technical issues. Your bank not reconciling, unless you can tell us, hey, it's here on my bank and credit card transaction report, but it's not on my recon, is not a technical issue, that's an accounting issue. Reconciling your accounts is actually an accounting principle. If need be, you can pay your accountants to do it. It's not something that in general we offer. We don't offer it on Sage Accounting, nor do we actually offer it on Pastel unless we charge you. It's something we will charge you to do because it's an accounting feature. So I don't know if that makes sense. Much like if you phone up and go, hey, I'm doing this journal, what accounts do I affect? We are not able to tell you what accounts you need to affect. That is something that you need to speak to your accountants for, because we are not trained accountants. I am trained in IT. Although I can give you these webinars, I can give you the gist of how the program works, I'm actually not trained in accounting at all. I didn't do accounting at university, I did it at school. What I am trained in though is in IT, in understanding systems and in programming. So I can program very prettily in HTML. That's not going to help you on your journals though. So that's why, for the person who asked that, why can't you just phone support and go, my Bank Recon doesn't balance, I'm sending you everything. We're not actually accountants, it is an accounting feature, and we would prefer not to actually have your bank statements, to be honest. Guys, we do have someone that you can reach out to if he wants to put his email address on the screen. He's one of our attendees. He's a Bank Recon expert. And I do know him and I do value his opinion a lot. His name is Dries van Vieren. He's very, very good at what he does. If any of you want to reach out to him and he doesn't mind, he'll let me know if he does. I will display his email for you. So if you guys are having these kind of issues, you're welcome to reach out to Dries. That does not mean that he will not charge you though. Please bear that in mind. He may charge you. So I'm going to put his email in the chat for you. You can make a note of that. So that's the kind of person you would reach out to. That does not mean that they will not charge you their fees. So Dries van Vieren, Bank Recon expert. Dries, if I'm not doing things correctly, you will let me know, please, since you are my expert here. So I do know Dries very well, guys. He's a very, very nice gent, very good at what he does. I would recommend reaching out to him if you are having problems in this regard. He can definitely assist you. You guys can discuss costs, though. We don't have anything to do with that. So that is why. But what happens if you find what's wrong? So generally, if you find what's wrong, what you're going to do is you're going to actually go into your banking transactions. So you're going to go into banks and credit cards, transactions, and you're probably going to go into your review transactions. And then we need to make sure that we're selecting the correct period. So remember that I said you go back month by month, and I'm going to expand on that because I only went back 1 month, but we'll come here and we'll have a look. Please make sure that you select the bank account. Very, very important, since I had not done that. And then, guys, we can see I have a lot of unallocated, which is probably where my 5,700 is coming from. If it's not allocated, it cannot be reconciled. But basically, this is where you would come in. You would look, and if, for example, you find that error, you can go, oh, okay, yeah, this definitely should not be here. This is an incorrect transaction or a duplicate transaction. And guys, you literally just delete it. It's going to say, do you want to delete it? And you're going to go, yes. Then you're going to go back. You're going to check your reconciliation, make sure that that's correct. And then you can move on. Likewise, if there's a transaction on your bank statement, it's not showing in your bank and credit card transaction report, it's not showing on your reconciliation, that is where you're just going to add your transaction. You're going to go, oh, okay, obviously I missed that one, 10th of the 10th, 2023. You're going to add your payee. So let's do a supplier. And let me find a supplier that I want to pay. So art supplies, payments, October R001. So I know that we don't use codes here, guys. I'm just using codes because it's what I'm used to. However you want to do that payee, that's cool with me. I'm just doing what I'm used to because I've been an expert on, or a product specialist on Sage Pastel accounting. For 13 years, I've only been an expert on Sage accounting for a year. So I still tend to revert back to what I did in Pastel. But however you want to put in your payee and your description, that is for you to understand what you've done. What is the reference that you want to use? Again, it might be October invoice. I can put the invoice number. And I can then put in my value. So it's a spent because it is a supplier. I'm not receiving anything, I'm spending money. And then I can either reconcile it here, or I can save this. And I can then go into my reconciled transactions and I can tick it accordingly. So if you need to add, you just add it. If it's something that you already had and you see, oh, this is duplicate, whatever it is, you can merely minus it. Are you sure? Yes. It'll take it away. It will then also affect this statement balance. So guys, we see it's 251,341,78 now. I'm going to remove this transaction for 199. And we see that that now is affected. So the value is changing because it's duplications, if we want to put it that way, or it's a transaction that shouldn't be there, whatever it is. If we need to add it, new transaction, and we add it in. Again, then we can go and we can view. And guys, that's basically your Bank Recon in a nutshell. Now, I do want to go back there because what actually happens if last month your Bank Recon was in balance, but now it's not. So you view October and October is also out. Guys, what you're going to do is you then are going to do the September thing. So we'll go there, we'll view the whole of September, and we're going to put in September's closing balance for that cash book. So I'm going to do this one. Then we'll put in our closing balance for September. If that is still out of balance, and just make sure those dates are correct. If that is still correct, if that is still showing you, okay, you have this much of a difference, then again, we're going to keep going backwards until you get to a date that is in balance. That's what you're looking for. So let's say that actually August is what was in balance. And that's what was in balance. If the very next period is September, you're going to go to September, and it means that actually the problem is in September. So that's where you start, because it doesn't help that November's out of balance, you do November, but you can't find the error because November's not your problem. You need to find the period where the problem is. Possibly someone came in and they accidentally, this art supplies was meant to be 13/11/23, not 13/09. So that is where you need to come in and go, okay, where is my problem? Which month is showing the problem? And then you start at that month. So you find the period that is in balance. In this case, we're going to say August was in balance. And then when we go to September and we enter September's statement balance, and we see, hang on, this is now out of balance. Or when you're ticking, we see, okay, there we go. We've now got a 470.62 difference. We've got a problem here. Where's that coming in? This is where I now go, okay, September is my problem. I need to go and find why that is happening. So generally, if it's in negative, that means that it is, I think, on the credit side, but I could be wrong, guys. Check both. Just because it's on the credit side doesn't mean that it's not a payment that actually went wrong. But basically, that's where you're going to go through. You're going to look at your September. You're going to see, hang on, September is my problem, and you're going to reconcile September. Because once you reconcile September, your October and your November might absolutely balance. So if you're trying to reconcile something that actually is balancing, you are going to get frustrated. You are going to phone us and go, I have no idea why this thing isn't reconciling. I have a major problem. And we're going to track backwards and go, okay, what period were you reconciling? Well, November, and it's out of balance. Yeah, but so is October, so is September. Can you give me August? Oh, August is in balance. Let's look at September, and then you find it in 5 minutes. So the first step, check which period is out of balance, or rather find the first period in balance, even if you have printouts that said October and September were in balance. Find the first period that's in balance, because like I said, it doesn't stop me in November coming in and doing a September date or even a May date. Find the period that's in balance, and the very next period that's out of balance, that's the period you're working in. Those are all the reports that you're pulling. You're pulling the reports for bank and credit cards, in this case for September. You're pulling the customer and supplier ledgers for September, and you're checking off your different things. You're making sure that they're correct, and you're looking for the transaction that's processed in September that either has incorrect amount, that is processed incorrect date, that is duplicated, and that's what you're looking for. It either isn't there, it should be there, it's incorrect date, it's incorrect amount, it could also be to the incorrect account, whatever, but you're looking for something wrong in September, not November. Does that make sense, guys? Step one, find your out of period, or find your reconciliation out in the correct period. Are we all with me? That is your very first step. Please let me know in the chat. If I need to explain that again, please let me know. I'm just giving us some time to advise. Dries, I'm assuming that you're with me and you're happy and that my info is still good. Cool. And then guys, the steps basically follow from there. Then it is pulling those reports, and literally my advice would be to print them. I know that sounds awful, and yes, the recording will be available. Just give me, yes, I did record. For a second there, I thought maybe I forgot to record. I'm so sorry. But yes, there is a recording. It will be given to you probably tomorrow around 11ish. If you don't receive it tomorrow, please reach out to me on Thursday and let me know, and I'll send it to you manually. But guys, then you follow those steps. My advice is to print out the reports. It's very difficult to do if you're working on PDFs because often you don't see where the lines are. This is something you need a ruler with, and you need to literally go down with a ruler. As I said, what I normally do, and this doesn't mean it's the right way to do it, you can do it whichever way works for you. I will go and reconcile all the receipts first, and then I will reconcile all of the payments. So I know which side I'm working on. I know that it's only my in column on my bank. I'm literally printing out my customers, and I'm checking only on that side of things. Then I do the payments, and generally I can find the stuff pretty quickly. And it's literally following those steps. So guys, that's how you do reconcile. As I said, you should be reconciling at least once a month at the very least. It should be a month-end thing that you do. Can you do that every week? Yes. But if you do it every month, I would still advise that at the end of the month, you make sure that everything is still reconciling. Because again, it's possible in that month that you reconciled, you know, week 6 to 10 or 6 to 12, however you want to run your week. And it did reconcile, but someone's gone and processed something anywhere from the 1st to the 13th. And it's either not reconciled anymore and you just need to tick it for it to reconcile, or something has gone wrong there. So don't assume because you do it weekly that you only need to put in the weekly dates to check everything reconciles. You can reconcile weekly, but then come the end of the month, come the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd of the new month, my advice would be to go in, select the full month, 1st of November to the 30th of November, put in that closing balance for the 30th of November, and double check, is this reconciling? Am I happy? Let's move on. Because you don't really want to go back 3, 4, 5 months, because sometimes all 5 months can be out of balance, and that's horrible. But guys, that's basically it. That's how you reconcile. That's what you do if you're not reconciling. I hope it makes sense. And that is it for this webinar. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to give you until 10:33. If you do have questions, I ask that you please raise your hand. And what I am going to do is I'm going to read a very common thing that happens that Dries has given us here, because you guys can't see this. It's something only I can see. But he said, I can list common errors, debit and credit, wrong way. So you put it in the wrong, so you put your debits in the credit, so you receive the money when you should be spending the money. So it's where people swap them around. So that's something that happens very common that Dries has seen. Normally when this happens, a 9 Rand error occurs. Oh, so guys, amount errors like 123 entered as 132. So it's a 9 Rand error because you've just swapped the 2 and the 3. So it's a tiny little error. So he sees that. We call that a finger error, which again is why you're sitting with the ruler and you're scrutinizing. 123, 123. My bank statement says 123. Am I seeing 123 here? That doesn't really happen if you're importing your bank statement when you're using bank feeds. When you're importing your bank statements or bank feeds, that's when the duplication happens. But that is a very good one. Make sure that you're double checking if you're manually entering your bank statement. Am I entering the correct thing? Is 123 123 or have I entered it 132? And then others are posting to a bank account from another entry type. So guys, that is a good one that I forgot to mention. So if you, for example, do have the accountants area and you can process journals, you may go process a journal and you may select the account as your bank account. So you're doing your rent, and what you do here is you select your bank account. Wherever that is, you should not be doing that. So you should not be processing directly to your bank account from here, either by the affecting or to that account. That will also cause a problem because it's seen as processing directly into it, and that then does not show up on your Bank Recon at all. Only transactions that have gone through banking transactions that you've processed here, or that you've literally had to select the bank account from the customers when you do your transactions. So when you do your receipts, you do actually select the bank account to use here. Then it sees it as that specific bank account. But if you have not selected it from either receipts or payments or from banking, then you may also have the problem. So Dries, thank you for those. Those are things that happen commonly. Otherwise, guys, are there any other questions? Any other comments that you would like to make? Did what I read from Dries make sense? I hope I did it justice. If anyone is confused, let me know. Otherwise, guys, while I wait for questions, I think that we have only 2 more webinars left. I actually could be wrong. We might only have 1 more left. Yeah, we do. Sorry, guys. So we only have 1 webinar left, and that is happening on the 7th of December, and it is an open webinar. Guys, an open webinar means if there is anything that I have not covered in the year from May till now, because normally what happens January, we kind of, I'm probably going to just do a welcome back and preparing for year end. But from Feb, guys, what we run is we run year-end webinars. And normally what happens is I run the year-end webinars for Pastel because the year-end isn't a huge thing in Sage Accounting. You literally tick a box, that's it. And the system does the rest. You just need to remember to lock down the date when you finalize your year-end. And I will show you guys how to do that probably in Jan. And I'll maybe do it again in Feb as a once-off, but generally Feb and the whole of March, I run year-end webinars for Pastel, probably 2 times a week, if not every single day, depending on what's requested. So normally our webinars only start again in May because I take April as leave. So I'm not available. But on top of that, I am also training other people to run these webinars. So mine might not be the only voice you hear next year. But that open webinar is anything that you have questions on that I have not covered. So you're like, Joe, I have a lot of questions on this thing, or I find the system does this. What does that mean? What I am going to ask, guys, is that you please email me with your questions beforehand, if possible, to joannebarnard@sage.com, just so that I can be prepared. As I said, I'm a specialist on 50. There's probably not many questions you can ask me where I won't know the answer on Pastel, but with Sage Accounting, if you could give me a heads up on your questions, I would appreciate it, just so that I can make 100% sure I do have an answer. I do know how to demo that specific thing, because I don't want to go, I have no idea what the answer to your question is. If, however, you don't have questions, but on the 7th, you're like, actually, I was looking at this thing, what does that do? And I don't know, I do ask that you have patience with me, because Doesn't mean that I won't answer your question. It just means that I might have to go, look, I'm not sure. I'm going to unshare my screen quickly, ask my fellow specialists if they have an answer, or what I might do is ask you, can we take it offline? Which means send me your email. What I'm going to do is find the answer, and then I'm going to email you back. But if you can email me your questions, that would be helpful, because then we don't need to do that and everyone can benefit from the answers. Guys, if no one has any questions, then on the day, what I might do is just run through some stuff. Normally it's based on, hey, this is the end of the year. Builders normally close on the 15th. If your office closes on the 15th, this is something that you maybe want to bear in mind. These are things that you might want to make sure are done beforehand. These are little tips and tricks with regards to not being overrun in January. And I might do a webinar, something like that. Again, for Sage Accounting, there's not that much. There is more for Pastel because certain errors crop up due to people going on leave and the system just being stagnant for a period of time. We see a lot of licensing issues, that type of thing. So it's just stuff that I can advise you on. But that's on the 7th of December. So in a week, 2 weeks, I think. Yeah. Sorry, guys, I'm wrong. 5th of December. Have I gone all the way to Pastel there? Am I? No, definitely says 7th. Guys, I might have mixed my dates up, so I do apologize if I've done that, because the 5th is a Tuesday and the 7th is a Thursday. So on the 5th, so that's in exactly 2 weeks' time. My apologies there. I will make sure that I go fix that in my system, because I think that I've selected, yeah, I've selected incorrect dates. So let me just double check that. Sorry, guys, so I put the 7th, it is the 5th. So on the 5th of December, I will have an open webinar for Sage Accounting, and on the 7th for Pastel Accounting. Guys, if no one has any further questions, that's it for this webinar. I hope that you found it useful. You should receive your email thanking you for coming tomorrow at around 11, which should have a link to this video. If you were unable to attend, you should receive an absentee email, which should still have the link to the webinar because you registered for it. If you do not receive either of those, then please email me on Thursday and just let me know that, Joe, I didn't receive the email with the link to this recording. Please, can you send it to me? And I will happily do so. If you have any suggestions of topics for next year, now is your time to get those in, because I am going to start prepping what we're going to do in January. However, that is going to be later in January, so it'll only be one webinar, because I'll probably only host that in the week of the 22nd to the 26th. Otherwise, have a fantastic day, have a wonderful weekend, and I will hopefully see you at the 5th of December webinar. Thank you so much, guys. Ciao, ciao.